from the Figure 4 Online Studios in beautiful Bothell, Washington, exclusively at WrestlingObserver.com. You're listening to The Brian and Vinny Show with your hosts, Brian Alvarez and Big Vinny V.
There. Seeing as how we are not reviewing NXT on the show today. That's because Granny's going to be here. Granny will review NXT in her weekly wrestling report. Vinny and I have got Raw, as we do every Thursday night. We have got Lucha Underground, as we do every Thursday night. And yes, we have got TNA Impact Total Nonstop Deletion. Watched in full, start to finish.
Every second.
The greatest television show I ever saw in my life. All time, all my life.
You know, people like to make fun of me because I'll say things such as, it was fine, or it was a show.
This was not a show.
This was not fine, and it was definitely not a show.
It was amazeballs.
It was that. We had a disclaimer read by Senior Benjamin, warning us not to try anything we witnessed tonight.
You know why that's important? Because normally, when you watch a wrestling show, it's a bunch of big, jacked up dudes inside a wrestling ring in an arena full of 16,000 people or whatever. Mm-hmm. And even though kids like to try wrestling moves, you really can't do that at home. But you know what? You could sure try and do this at home. Bunch of weirdos, fireworks, dude's backyard, shovels, boats, water. You could try all of this at home. So it was a good thing that they told us not to.
So the Hardys are bebopping around the compound. Jeff's doing yard work. Matt's rowing a boat.
Skarsgård.
Ah, yes.
That's his boat.
I forgot about that until the end of the show. Senior Benjamin is erecting a ring. I thought it was there was a ring outside and one inside. That's right.
They're doing preparations.
And young King Maxwell was hard at work in the ring, honing his craft. We got Action News 7 special report. Apparently a TV station in Cameron, North Carolina. They're saying the day of deletion tag team apocalypto is about to occur in Cameron, North Carolina. Apparently, the gimmick is, if the Hardys prove or fail to prove that they are the best team in all of time and space, then great disaster will occur and the city of Cameron will be wiped off the earth.
I believe the volcano.
That was the biggest one.
The volcano was going to explode like Mount Doom and destroy all of Cameron.
Can't have that.
No.
They went to the compound where a live volcano was in fact erupting. Itchweed was there.
Itchweed.
Do we need to explain who Itchweed is?
I think people are going to figure it out here pretty quickly.
Itchweed was there admiring the lava, mowing the dirt.
He's a landscaping expert.
Enthusiast, I would say.
All right, for those of you that don't know Itchweed, it's Jeff Hardy's latest wacky character that apparently he's been doing for a few years now. It's Itchweed with 3 E's. Yeah. That's apparently very important. Mm-hmm. All I will say in describing the character is that his gimmick is that he carries around a weed whacker, and if you saw him performing Itchweed, you could not for 1 second believe that this man's sober.
This is a man doing a performance based on a lot of experience with mind-altering substances.
I guess.
Seems that way.
I'll get an Itchweed more in a while. Here he was just being wacky. And it was like, what the hell is Jeff doing? This guy's out of his mind.
So what they did for this show, they flew in a 6-sided ring. They had a standard 4-sided ring outside. A 6-sided ring in a barn? Is that what you would call this thing?
It's Matt Hardy's garage, basically. It's a detached garage.
It's a large building. For a large based on... I don't have a building that large in my house.
Pretty sure that building's bigger than your house.
I'm quite sure it is. They had room for a ring.
And 50 people.
Matt was very
with
proud.
With a lot of room to spare.
I was very happy to have these 50 people there. He made it a point of the story. Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews were doing commentary from this barn. By the way, one of my favorite things in this entire show, and neither of us actually mentioned it at the time, Matt and Jeff and Senior Benjamin come out for an opening promo. And Senior Benjamin is wearing a Ribera Steakhouse jacket.
Yes, he was. I had that written down later.
That was so awesome. So Matt repeats their goal is to prove they are the greatest team in all of space and all of time. He also promises King Maxwell will make his in-ring debut tonight. At this point, Rockstar Spud interrupted. Did I mention, by the way,
How awesome Rockstar Spud is?
well, that too.
Go ahead and mention it now.
When anyone on the show came from the back to the ring, when they came through the curtain, they were stepping out of a giant mouth of a huge Matt Hardy painting.
Yes, it was Matt's mouth. And they had a ring announcer with a very low voice that would mumble everybody's name.
It was I don't think it was a weird idea. Duh. So
That was the weirdest thing you saw in this goddamn show?
it was not close to the weirdest thing I saw in the segment, for that matter. So Rockstar Spud comes out. He's sick of everything associated with the Hardys. Sick of deleting. Sick of Matt's greenhorn son who's stealing all of his TV time. And Matt is shocked and appalled at these words.
Spud says, this child has never had a match, and he's more over than I've ever been.
That is true.
And I'm going to stretch this young fella, and I'm going to teach him a lesson.
I'm going to teach him respect for this business, he says. So Matt says, well, as I forget what he called himself, but he's the guy in charge of Total Nonstop Deletion, so he booked the match.
Yeah. And then Josh goes, because Matt announces it's no DQ. And Josh goes, is that a good idea? And I'm like, you goddamn idiot. The fuck do you think, you moron?
So Spud promises to carry Maxwell and make him look good, and then Matt can push him to the moon. Now, I know this is a clown show anyway, but must we have everyone on a wrestling show reminding us wrestling is fake? That annoyed me.
Spud is facing a 1-year-old, Vinny.
Yeah.
And that set you off?
It did.
Jesus Christ.
Rockstar Spud versus King Maxwell. Maxwell's entrance, where he comes out driving his toy 4x4.
Yeah, he was Alberto Del Rio.
He was.
He was Alberto Del Maxwell.
And they're playing, I'm sure most of you noticed this. They're playing Rebby's piano song, which she has played before for one of these other wacky segments they've done. Do you realize it's a medley of Matt Hardy's various wrestling themes?
Yeah!
It starts with his WWF theme and then goes into whatever obsolete he has now. Everything about this is tremendous. So, Spud is ready to destroy this 1-year-old when Senior Benjamin stuns him.
Tases him.
I don't mean that with like a stone cold stunner. I mean he zaps him with an electric device.
He had a taser.
And Spud goes down. Maxwell makes the cover. The ref counts 3. Maxwell pops up and holds up a 1 for his finger.
Like he's Goldberg.
He won down. I am 1-0.
This was so heavily edited.
Yes.
And now that I have a 9.5-month-old, I know why.
Yes.
Like, you can't just tell this kid what to do.
No.
You have to very carefully help them walk, film it, get them in position, basically hold them down while they pin you.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't figured it out already, if you've got strong liquor, you should drink it before watching this show. This was like the TNA version of the Christmas show.
Basically.
Not to be done in a sober state of mind.
No.
Although we did. And it was still great.
So they go backstage. Disco Inferno has been watching this debacle. He says, man, I'm glad that's not me this time. And he looks around and asks, who wants to play poker? Now, I wrote this down here, an observation. He was wearing no shirt. He never appeared again on the show.
No.
Disco Inferno was walking around backstage with no shirt on.
See, here's the thing about these shows. I absolutely adored this episode of Impact, but you can't do this every week.
Oh, of course not.
It's got to be something that you do every 6 months or every year or so.
Yes.
And the whole thing is, you got to do a bunch of build so that you can pay off all the jokes on the show. Like, the disco thing, it wasn't like a long-term joke, but it was just one of many funny inside references. This one, if you just follow wrestling, it was funny, but everything on this show was just, it was a callback.
Yes.
And you can't do a callback every damn week.
Back on the news show, they said the entire city of Cameron had been quarantined. All roads in had been closed. At this point, Shane Helms showed up in a pickup truck with his team. Trevor Lee and
Andrew Everett.
Thank you, Andrew Everett. The Helms Dynasty.
Actually, they were billed on screen as local roughnecks.
Were they?
How in the hell has nobody used that as the name of a jobber tag team?
That's much better than Helms Dynasty.
Local roughnecks. And then,
oh my God,
talk about some roughnecks. The fucking Rock and Roll Express showed up.
Okay, you're already underselling this.
Well, you know, it's funny. We've been watching the Rock and Roll Express every week.
From 30 years ago.
Yeah. It's not like we're wrestling fans that remember it from our childhood and they show up. Then it would be even more striking. But we've been watching them every single week, and now here they are, and they've aged 30 years in the last 3 days.
I was to say they've aged 60 years in the past 30 years. They lived a hard life, is what I'm saying. Now, the reason this was so great, they apparently, because the roads were closed, hiked in to the Hardy compound, and we are introduced to them as they stride across his lawn via close-ups of their gear. They wore their gear to this fight.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
You know,
and wrestlers in their gear in the real world is like the best thing ever.
I once saw Helson Gracie. He's the son of Elio. He was doing a radio interview, and they had photos from inside the studio.
Oh, no.
He's there in his gi.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's something that I want to say this about the Rock and Roll Express. Because obviously there are people listening to this that maybe they don't have the best self-esteem. Maybe they look in the mirror and they think, I wish I was better looking. It's too bad I'm not as good looking as I'd want to be. Well, there's a curse to being good looking. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson were a tag team 30 years ago. And Ricky Morton was a pretty young babyface. And Robert Gibson was kind of a little bit ugly. You know what I mean? I mean that in the nicest way possible. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
He was the sidekick.
Sure. Well, now here they are, 30 years later, and you know what happens to the pretty guy after 30 years? He's a goddamn old man.
Uh-huh.
And now, Robert, he pretty much looks the same. Just a little less hair.
I think you need to go back and watch more 80s wrestling if you thought Robert Gibson looked the same.
Well, he didn't look the same, but the point is, he never looked good. So he didn't have a cliff to fall off of, like poor Ricky Morton. That's the curse of being good looking.
See, you know what? No. There's nothing I can say here. You ever heard the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all?
Oh, come on.
Anything I say here is going to be very, very, very mean. So I'm going to move on.
Oh, Vinny. Was that mean what I said? I'm just trying to give everybody hope.
Except Robert Gibson.
No, I thought Robert Gibson aged well.
You said he was ugly.
I said he never looked that good in the first place. Poor Ricky. It's just been a steady descent.
Gibson's descent has been much steeper.
Oh, dude. I see we're looking at this in two totally different ways.
Yes, we are.
I'm looking glass full. Glass?
Said it right the first time.
I'm turning into Granny. The glass is half full the way I look at it. You're looking at it as the glass is empty. The glass is broken. You shattered the glass. Hey, they were great on this show. I got more good stuff to say about Robert. I'm a bigger fan of Robert Gibson right now than I was ever.
Oh, God, yes.
When I was watching him back then.
Hell yes.
I've been ranting for 3 months now about Robert Gibson being in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame because he was one half of the Rock and Roll Express. Now I've changed my mind. God bless this guy. I'll get into it.
So we're back in the ring. Oh, essentially, by the way, Matt was happy to see them, the Express who rock and rolled. So they were there to prove they were the best of all space and time. Invited them inside for green beans and beer. Somebody named Sienna was in the ring. She says, I'm here to call out Rosemary. But Rosemary's not coming out. And Jeremy Borash, who has to, at some point in his ancestry, share DNA with Mike Tenay, he says, quickly and totally straight-faced, permanently banned from the Hardy compound for trying to abduct King Maxwell.
Fucking died. It's so awesome. It's Jeremy Borash in Jeremy Borash wrestling announcer mode.
Yes.
It was perfect delivery.
It was like if someone said they had won the title and he had dropped the date and opponent and city.
Yeah.
That's the way he expressed himself. Sienna says, I will challenge anyone in the world to face me for the #1 contendership. Out comes Vanguard 1. They're having a stare down. A woman versus drone match. But the ref says, no. I will not let a drone fight a woman. Vanguard 1, I am sending you to the back.
I could not even believe this. Every goddamn week I've got to watch man versus woman matches on Lucha Underground. And here's total nonstop deletion, and this ref won't allow woman versus drone. That's too much for this guy. And then the drone leaves, and across the screen, the drone says, and I quote, "This is BSAF."
Yes.
Died. I died so many times watching this show.
Quite a mouth on this drone. So Sienna clarifies she is challenging any woman. Suddenly they cut, I said backstage, really it was outside, where there's a trailer, and out pops ODB, who has come to fight. So it's Sienna versus ODB. I haven't seen ODB wrestle in many years. She has, I say this in the nicest way possible, she is a little bigger than she used to be.
She is?
Her gear is not.
I think everything else just shrunk.
It's possible her gear shrunk, but I'm pretty sure she is bigger. Her ass was hanging out the entire match. So she came out here and wrestled like a retired wrestler making a one-night comeback. She did her trademark spots only. She didn't do them very well.
That means she grabbed her titties and she screamed boom, and that's about it.
Also her crotch. A lot of that. The ref got bumped. ODB had a pin after a chair shot, but no ref. Vanguard 1 returned to count the pin. He counted 1 via hologram. He counted 2, but then the ref yanked the drone out of the ring and cut a promo on him.
Yeah, you can't do this, drone. You've been ejected.
Sienna hit a chair shot. The ref dived in to count the pin. Who the hell was her name? Sienna left. The ref left. ODB is there looking confused. And then she looks down at the drone. And the drone doesn't know what to do. ODB doesn't know what to do. And then she does. And ODB has, as many times in her career, used her large fake breasts as offensive weapons. Rub the mounds of silicone into her opponent's face to batter them back and forth. Well, she did this to Vanguard 1. Essentially motorboated him. Vanguard 1 has a camera. And they used this shot. I now know what every hungry baby in the world is thinking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
These were,
you don't even know.
no joke, the largest breasts I've ever seen. Yeah. That made TV.
Dude, this show made TV.
Well, yeah.
I was watching this and I was just thinking, these are grown men on national television. They're heroes.
We haven't talked about them much because they haven't been on the show much yet. But yes, Matt and Jeff Hardy are my absolute heroes.
Well, let's talk about fucking Itchweed against Chet Sterling. First off, this jobber, what the hell was he wearing? Had to be by design.
He was wearing yellow tights and a pink vest.
Yellow tights.
And I believe a powder blue bow tie to go with it.
So Jeff Hardy's out there playing Itchweed, having the most bullshit squash match against the most bullshit jobber, and it's like the best match I've ever seen.
This was Jeff Hardy. I can't say 0%, but it was 0.5%.
Jeff Hardy, Itchweed, I apologize. Itchweed puts the man in a sleeper, but then he falls asleep.
The sleeper is so boring.
They do a double down, and the fans begin to chant, "Wake up!" And then there's a gimmick with Itchweed.
You don't say.
Well, no, there's a bunch of gimmicks, but whenever they do a replay, there's a shot of Itchweed laughing, like a cartoon.
Yes.
Before and after the replay.
Yes.
So Itchweed does this goddamn elbow off the apron, putting Chet Sterling through a table.
I have to stop you right here.
I realized it's not an elbow.
Jeff just
That's what I'm
fell.
getting to. This is the worst elbow of Jeff Hardy's career. This is like Jeff Hardy is an 8-year-old again, and he's jumping off the low diving board into the pool, sideways. The fucking most horrendous elbow you've ever seen. It's so fake and phony. First off, I was crying with laughter when he first did it. And then they show Itchweed's laughing face. They replayed this like 10 times. Over and over and over. And the camera kept getting closer and closer and going slower and slower. I was like, what is this? Where in the fuck is my Jack Daniels? This one's so awesome.
We're not done yet.
If Itchweed does not get in the goddamn Wrestling Observer newsletter awards this year for like best wrestler, I'm going to be pissed off.
Itchweed gets the win with he stands and drops an elbow smash. And they announced this is called the pesticide elbow because they know it has a name. At this point, this is when things got wacky. Itchweed grabs his weed whacker, which is a big, gas-powered industrial monstrosity. And he revs this up. And Chet is scurred. And then for about 6 seconds, we saw 2 camera shots. One was just a close-up of the weed whacker in Itchweed's hands. The second, and far more intriguing, was what the hell was his name? Chet Sterling POV shot, as he shot Itchweed standing over him with a weed whacker, molesting him, essentially. And about 10 seconds after this goes on, it's over, the camera pulls back, and now Chet's gear has all been shredded.
His gear.
Not him.
I thought that it would be like blood everywhere or something like that, or they'd never show his remains.
I thought they would cut his hair.
I thought that like Itchweed beat people and then killed them with a weed whacker. But no, he's so good at whacking weeds that he only got the guy's outfit. He didn't touch his skin with this weed whacker.
Had a flashback of the Hardys training against the animals in Matt's zoo. Then we had Lashley versus Eddie Edwards for the TNA title.
This was so weird to go from Itchweed and Jeff Hardy fighting kangaroos to a TNA World Heavyweight Championship match in front of 50 people in Matt Hardy's detached garage.
With a pro MMA fighter.
Yeah! Oh, we'll get into that.
So, the fans all hated Lashley. He shoved one of them down, so then they held his arm so Eddie could chop and elbow him repeatedly. At this point, anything interesting in this match stopped happening for a long time. Lashley hit 800 moves in a row, none of them terribly compelling. Fans hated his head.
Well, let's just skip to the end of this. Let's get to the good stuff.
Well,
they brawl outside.
When you say outside, Lashley speared him through a door into the dirt.
Yeah.
And they brawled into the night.
They just kept going out into the woods. They became part of Tag Team Apocalypto.
What a match this was.
They announced that teams were en route or already there.
Mm-hmm. Essentially, it's a tag team battle royal. Eliminations are via pinfall or submission, and falls count anywhere.
Well, obviously they count anywhere. It's outside.
Well, it started in the ring. We had the Hardys, Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett, the Rock and Roll Express, and Crazy Steve and Abyss.
Yeah.
These 4 teams were announced, and then, before anything could happen, the building began to fill with smoke.
Now, why did that happen?
Well, you see, this was Apocalypto.
Oh.
The whole world may have been ending.
I see.
This is why we were treated to a voice repeating over and over again, the public must evacuate the property immediately. And everyone ran out of the building through the smoke, covering their faces with their shirts or jackets or whatever. They ran for their lives into the dark of night, and they were never seen again. The wrestlers are out there brawling. Eddie and Lashley are still brawling in the grass. And this is the point where the show itself and my notes are going to be very disjointed.
Oh, man, I just got a bunch of capital letters and random words
They
here.
bounce from point A to B to C to A to D to A to B to C.
Well, here's how it started. So, there's dudes chasing each other with Roman candles, shooting at each other, being used as weapons. And Shane Helm says, "Boys, let's get out of here." And him and Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett all run and jump into a truck, and they start to flee. Now, if I were the Hardys, it'd be like, good, get the hell out of here. That's one less team we got to deal with. Not these damn Hardys.
No.
They jump into the truck, and we proceed to have a brawl in the back of a truck. Like Dustin Rhodes and the Blacktop Bully driving down the road, having a brawl, and Jeff grabs a referee and he throws him down in the back of his motorcycle, and they zoom off.
This truck, just for the record, was moving perhaps 10 miles an hour.
That was perfect.
Yeah. Suddenly we're at the gates to the Hardy compound. Big, huge iron gates with a huge H in the middle.
Yes.
And there's about 75 teams out there fighting to get in this match.
All these random geek teams. All of them more awesome than the geeks backstage at Raw.
Well, that's true. So, Abyss and Steve are basically, they're allowing one team at a time into the gates. They're then killing these men.
Such as the first team, the Bruiserweights.
See, I couldn't even understand most of their names. Thank God you were here to clarify these.
I believe the Bruiserweights were killed. The world-famous Bravado Brothers showed up, and they were no-sold by Spud.
Yeah.
The Ugly Ducklings were killed. I think those were the three main teams.
Yes. So at this point, the Hardys and the Helmses were fighting in the parking lot of an antique store. And Hurricane points inside and says, "I think I see your merchandise in there." That was awesome. 3 more dudes came in. That was the Ugly Ducklings. The Hardys and Helmses were brawling at a train crossing as a train was going by. Now, they never got within 20 feet of this train, but still, that's pretty nuts. We had a team called Showtime. They got killed. As they were being killed, the Bravados essentially tiptoed past them.
That's right, they snuck in.
Abyss murdered someone with a large rock. We had a POV shot of that as well. Spud was upset his partner had not arrived. They went to commercial. When they came back, Spud's partner was Swoggle.
Spud promised that his partner was a man bigger than Abyss. And it's the former Hornswoggle. Mm-hmm. They snuck in.
Essentially, yes. The Hardys and the Helmses were brawling by the dilapidated boat. Skarsgård, I believe.
Skarsgård!
And I was not sure what happened here for. It took my brain a moment.
Really?
To process just what had happened.
I'll tell you what happened. Yeah. Matt Hardy's about to get pinned. He's on his back. There's no hope. Matt doesn't have the power to kick out. He is without hope. But then, as the referee counts 1, he looks over and he sees Skarsgård. And as the ref counts 2, he reaches over towards the dilapidated boat. And Skarsgård breaks up the pin.
The boat!
Yeah, the boat broke up the pin.
The boat slides over and breaks up the pin.
Yeah, the heels are outraged.
At this point, I believe this may have been my favorite moment of the entire show. Hurricane Helms is so pissed this fucking boat has broken up this pin and cost him revenge on his hated rivals. He turns to his men and screams, "Kick that boat's ass!"
And they proceed to kill the boat.
They punch it, they stomp on it, they knee it, they elbow it. Matt makes the save for the boat. And he throws... It's Shane Helms. I've been calling him Hurricane off and on.
Yes.
He's Shane Helms. Throws him into the water.
Let me describe this. There is actually water there, everybody. But what they did was Matt shoves Shane, who trips on Skarsgård like a schoolboy, and all you see is he falls off screen, and then apparently there was someone with a bucket of water off screen, and they throw it in the air like he fell into the water. I don't know if Helms is afraid of the water. I don't know if maybe it's not safe to go in the water.
It's really cold.
But they went out of their way to not put that guy in the water. I laughed so hard when he fell off screen and some fucker threw water on screen.
Yes.
This is national television.
Yeah. Matt starts to walk away, and then he remembers, this is not just any water. This is the Lake of Reincarnation. As you recall, in the very first final deletion, when Jeff Hardy was thrown into the water, Willow emerged. Well, Shane Helms was thrown into the water, and out pops 3 Count.
3 Count.
Mostly just him.
I was so mad they couldn't find the rest of 3 Count.
It was.
You can't tell me that Tank Abbott was busy. Give me a goddamn break.
So it's Shane Helms in his 3 Count gear with Everett and Lee in their wrestling gear, and they all have those green dots 3 Count had, and they all start to dance on them. And then Shane realizes, wait a minute, you're not Shannon, you're not Evan, those guys are way better than you. And this pissed them off. And so they hit a double super kick, and he fell into the water again. At this point, the Bravados arrived to brawl with Lee and Everett, which freed the Hardys to openly mark out for their chance to fight the Rock and Roll Express in a ring.
The dream match is going to come to life.
So the Hardys hit the ring as the Rock and Roll Express, and they engage in lock-up battle.
You know what? They had a match.
Not for a while.
It wasn't much of a match.
At first, all they did was lockups.
There was a lot of lockups.
Eventually, we had the Hardys, who are, after all, from North Carolina, playing the role of the Four Horsemen for all of the Express's offense.
And you know what? This Robert can throw a hell of a punch.
Oh, hell yeah.
God, he threw some great punches. I was just watching him going, God damn, dude, you're better now than you were back then. Those are some great punches.
Did I mention there was a volcano going off in the background of all this?
Yes, there was a giant volcano that was blowing and spewing hot lava high into the air at random intervals as these two men battled in a wrestling ring, a square one, in the middle of a field in Cameron, North Carolina. Which, by the way, Eddie and Lashley were still fighting.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley he's Bobby Lashley. He's one half of the most purchased WrestleMania of all time, with Donald Trump and Umanga. He's a fucking Bellator fighter who's probably fighting for the heavyweight title soon. He's fucking doing a fake match in the woods.
Yeah.
That was the most preposterous thing on this whole show.
Well, there's more to come on that subject. The Bravados and Helmses returned to the smoke-filled building and brawled there. We go back to the ring in the outside, where in the ring, Gibson is putting Matt in a toe hold, while Jeff and Ricky have found cherry pickers. And they're moving slowly closer and closer to each other above the ring, shouting about how they're going to recreate the Night of the Skywalkers.
It was Jeff marking out.
Yeah.
He's just like, Night of the Skywalkers. And I'm like, Rock and Rolls weren't even in that match, you jackass.
They weren't, were they?
No!
Eventually, they get close enough where they can do more collar and elbow stuff. And Ricky is like...
Yeah, the cherry pickers are touching.
Yeah.
And so they lock up.
Yeah.
I guess why wouldn't you? And then Ricky starts to put him in an arm hold.
That's right.
And he twists his wrist.
He's doing wrist locks, biting the fingers. This is broken up when Matt escapes the toe hold, and he gets the controls of the cherry picker and lifts Ricky Morton as high in the air as it'll go, way up into the cold December North Carolina sky. Jeff, undoes the gate on his cherry picker, and he does a slow-mo senton dive into the ring that just misses Gibson.
Gibson didn't even move. Jeff just opens his cherry picker, and he falls off and crashes.
Yeah.
And they show in slow motion.
And they slow motion.
And it's like, that's Jeff Hardy. Of course he did that.
They showed it 3 or 4 times. Here's my favorite part. Jeff misses the senton, which is the setup for Matt just hitting the twist of fate and winning anyway.
Well, Matt made sure to call him a spot monkey first, and then he hit the twist of fate.
I see. I missed that. Ricky is first angry. Let me down, you son of a bitch. Get me off of this thing. And then everyone leaves, and then he's just begging. Please get me down. Please get me down. Let's see. Back in the building, Spud and Swoggle find everyone down. They are tiptoeing up to the ring when Spud reaches over and pats Swoggle on the head. Swoggle throws his hand away and says, "Hey, I'm a grown man." And Spud looks at him and cackles.
Hal, I was so sad. What basically happened here was Hornswoggle turned on Spud, I guess as revenge for Maxwell, another little person.
Oh, it was revenge for this spot right here.
Sure. And then Lee and Everett pinned Spud. But I was so sad because Spud and Hornswoggle would have been the best team.
It would have been pretty amazing.
Spud is so small that he's like barely bigger than Hornswoggle.
I would not be stunned if Hornswoggle was actually outweighed him.
I'm sure he does. But Hornswoggle, because he is smaller than Spud, it allows Spud to play giant.
Yes.
The brief moments they had on screen were golden. And then Swoggle turned on him.
Let's see, a bunch of stuff happened. Road Warrior Animal arrived, looked up at Ricky Morton, laughed at him, left, never seen again.
That was his cameo.
Ricky is now screaming, "Ribs over!" A man in a mask showed up at the gate to fight Decay. Then like 8 other guys in the same mask showed up. They all charged Abyss.
That's not fair.
We got a roar spot. Well, it turned out it was not fair for them.
Yeah.
Because one of the guys in the masks unveiled himself to be James Storm. And then another man pulled off his mask. Literally, some guy.
This was the guy that Filthy Tom has referred to repeatedly as Mike Sempervive. I believe he was driving a pickup truck about 2 episodes back. This was the same guy.
So, Abyss takes this guy, immediately pins him, so this masked team is out, which means James Storm is also out. James Storm is outraged. I don't even know this fool! But there's nothing to be done, and he turned, and he walked back into the night.
Screwed.
So everyone at the gates was now dead. And Steve and Abyss were having a great time, and they left to go find more people in the compound to kill. So everyone's brawling by the volcano. Everyone who's still alive. The Hardys are out there. Lee and Everett are out there.
I wrote that in all caps, by the way. Everyone is brawling on the volcano.
Yes, and most importantly, Eddie Edwards and Bobby Lashley.
This was the most amazing thing in all of Final Deletion.
Yeah. The volcano goes off with a mighty belch of fire, and everyone goes flying backwards, including, as noted, Bobby Lashley, who takes it upon himself to throw his body down the dirt hill.
I was watching this, and they showed in slow motion, and I saw a baby pin a man.
I saw
a drone act as a referee. I saw Itchweed. But when I saw Bobby Lashley on a volcano that went off and he went flying and did a flip, I was just like, what? Bobby Lashley.
At this point, Helms emerged from the water. Now he was Hurricane. Though they could not call him that. They just called him Superhero. He starts flying around the place. Back in the news crew, the anchor is worried they're all going to die tonight because the Hardys will lose.
It was looking grim.
They begin to brawl in what I believe was the Hardys' pet cemetery. Abyss grabs Janice. They are about to kill Jeff with Janice and or a Roman candle when Vanguard returns to make the save. Vanguard and Abyss begin to exchange firework shots until Abyss takes a fireball to the face.
Right to the face. I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, seriously, if you're exchanging Roman candle firework shots with a drone and it's aiming at your face, I mean, what do you expect to happen?
I should clarify something here because I think there's a lot of people who maybe used to watch TNA and don't anymore. For a solid decade or more, Abyss wore a leather mask. And then for a couple of years, he was wearing like a bug mask, a brown armored thing. Well, now Abyss wears face paint.
Yeah.
So not only was there nothing there to protect his face, but for all I know, that stuff's flammable. This could have been bad. Abyss declares via his own, or excuse me, Vanguard 1 declares via his own on-screen graphic, Booyah AF. The Lee and Everett are about to kill Matt Hardy with shovels. When Hurricane arrives, makes the save. They pin Lee and Everett. They throw them into open graves. They bury them. And then Matt Hardy says, even the man with 3 H's would be proud of the way we have buried this young, promising talent.
I died.
And they look into the camera and give a thumbs up.
It was so awesome.
I mean, Broken Matt Hardy is going to win Best Gimmick, right?
Oh, God, he's got to.
Has
There's
to.
no way. There's no way somebody else wins.
Swoggle ran into Lashley, attempted to wrestle with him. It went badly.
He went for a spear. Yes. He tried Lashley's own move, and he ran into a brick wall and fell down.
That was the end of him.
I think that's the last we saw of him.
As it was.
He was killed.
A giant flaming Hardy symbol appeared on the lawn. Everyone was brawling in the fire.
You know, it's amazing.
This was stupid.
Oh, dude, come on. I was watching it, and first off, let me just tell you something about this whole show. If this would have been filmed 20 years ago, it would have cost millions. They probably did this for a few $1,000s. Mm-hmm. It is amazing what you can do nowadays. But I was watching the final segment here, and I thought, you know what? How else would Tag Team Apocalypto end, except Jeff's symbol has to catch fire, and they must all brawl within it. And they fucking pulled it off.
When I say stupid, I really mean dangerous.
Oh, of course, but...
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Everyone survived. Matt apparently killed Abyss with a Janice shot to the gut. And then Jeff Hardy threw Crazy Steve into the volcano.
Boy, did you ever just blow that one. Jeff and Crazy Steve, first they're brawling on the ground. Then they start brawling up the side of the volcano. And they're still fighting. And as they brawl further and further up Mount Doom, in the ring, Janice is being driven into the guts of Abyss. So it appears that the babyfaces are going to win, but Jeff is still brawling further and further up to the top of that volcano. And finally, the big spot is he hits Crazy Steve in the guts. He gives him a twist of fate. Crazy Steve takes a bump, leaping high into the air and falling into the hole of the volcano into the lava. Just like Gollum. Except in this, the volcano erupts, and it shoots Crazy Steve thousands of feet into the air, at which point he falls down and lands in the ring. I'm not making this up.
No.
And you can watch it on television.
Yes. So now Crazy
including
Steve
a shot of Crazy Steve's face as he goes up in the air
There's a shot
and back down.
Intense close-up as he screamed. He lands in the ring, burned and charred like a silent movie, and Matt pins him to win Tag Team Apocalypto. The Team Hardy all celebrates together. It's Matt and Jeff, Rebby and Maxwell, Senior Benjamin and Vanguard 1. And Matt notes, there's carnage all around us, but together, the 6 of us will rebuild the Hardy compound. And Rebby says, the 7 of us. And Matt finds out he's going to be a daddy again. He is overjoyed, and the show ends. That was a great ending.
I loved that ending.
It was so awesome.
I loved that ending. You know, I was watching this and I thought, well, you know, they've done a bunch of these. And it is a movie. And you know that one of the disposable good guys has got to die. It's got to be like Vanguard 1. I thought for sure that Abyss was going to kill Vanguard 1 when they were shooting each other with Roman candles. And then we would have Vanguard V2, which would come in the next episode. But none of the... I guess maybe Hornswoggle. He's a bad guy too. All the good guys survived through to the very end. And so what we had Tag Team Apocalypto, and the good guys won, and they celebrated, and there was a happy ending. And there's a new little Hardy on his way to the compound.
Yay!
I was like, God damn. I can't even remember the last time I watched a wrestling show with a happy ending.
It
fucking certainly wasn't WWE.
That's like a miracle, doesn't it?
I loved this with all of my heart. So much of my heart, we've gone way past my 90-minute limit. I spent an extra 10 minutes to talk about this show in all of its glory.
It was amazing.
I hope they put it up on YouTube. If not, try and find a replay on Pop TV or something like that. I have heard through the grapevine that the feedback for this has been way more positive than the feedback for Final Deletion, which, if you recall, was beloved.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently this one was a big hit with everybody. I thought this was by far the best one they've done. I loved the show. I didn't need to see the Bobby Lashley-Eddie Edwards match, especially since there was no finish. Apparently they're still in the woods.
Yes.
Or maybe they fell in the volcano. I don't even know what happened to them. The volcano erupted and we never saw them again. And I don't think we needed the women's match either. But overall, a fabulous television show. 2 thumbs up. Best show I ever saw.
We're done.
That's it, everybody. Back on Sunday, we'll be back watching... Oh, no. We'll be watching Roadblock Into the Line.
Yeah.
What the hell?